Welcome to Brown and Brilliant, the podcast where generations talk and we listen. We blend old school values with new school voices to explore the evolving culture of people of color. Unfiltered, unapologetic, and undeniably brilliant. Whether it's a Sunday dinner story or a deep dive debate, we're breaking generational cycles, reimagining tradition, and building brilliance along the way. Join us every week as we honor the past, celebrate the now, and create the future together. They say, hey, make this money. I'm going to make money for you. They'll give it to them because they have on a suit and tie. But that person's doing the same thing I'm doing. They're taking a risk that you don't have any say in. You don't know what's going to happen. You may never see it again, but you got a piece of paper that says, I invested in something that you can't see, like say Coca-Cola stock. If you lost money in that stock and then you go to the store, you still see Coca-Cola on the shelf. You say, right. So how is it that I lost money and Coca-Cola's still on the shelf? Yeah. And I feel like, why don't I have? I feel that with all my stocks. Right, why don't I have $100 of Coca-Cola? Because they're not out of business. Yeah. Their trucks are still rolling. They're still bottling it. What do you mean? So who's the real people making the money behind this stuff? And it's that guy in the suit and tie because he's living in a mansion somewhere and he's well off, but he approaches us like a wolf in sheep's clothing because he has on a suit, a tie. He has some form of accreditation that we never vet. He has credibility. He has alleged credit, or he has projected credibility. Because remember, we don't vet him. Like, let me see your credentials. Right. We accept. He goes, oh, I went to Columbia. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you look like you would. You appear to have went to Columbia because you got on a suit and tie, and wow, that's a nice shoe you got, and it's a nice car out there. And all the things that you project to me show success. And now I want to be a part of that success. Right. And I don't know anything else about you. So here, I'll give you my money. Right. I give you my money. And thus you have the Bernie Madoffs in all of the world. Me being a ghetto child, a product of poverty, a product of confusion, misdirection, I come and say, hey, can I have $100? And he looks at me like, nigga, please. Right? And this is the part about the brilliance, the brown and brilliant with unfiltered, because that is what people think, like, nigga, please. Yeah, go get you a job. They might not even say anything to you. They just look at you and keep on moving. Right, but the ones that do, when they really want to quote unquote check you, like, nigga, please go get you a job. You got 2 hands, 2 feet. You got all this, not knowing the circumstances. Yeah. And so these plagues that are on our people, the mistrust, the doubt, the criticism, the jealousy, the covetousness, all of these things that have taken us so far from our roots when we look back and we see and hear of grandma and great grandma, their family reunions down south where people, they worked and it was community. It was community. But the values, the bonds that held us together unraveled to the point that they are no more. And now everybody is me. An individual means you are on a unicycle of sorts. You're on your own. Right. Let's figure. So you're on a unicycle, you teeter and totter and all that. It's not like a bicycle or a tricycle or a quad where there's 4 wheels and there's a lot more surety and firmness. You are grounded. When it's just you, it's a balancing act with everything. But all of us are doing this balancing act at the same time, so we all wobbling and wavering. And some of us get to cycle to the finish line, and some of us fall over. But it's all a part of this whole thing that, to me, has eroded the very fabric of our existence, and that is people of color. One thing you made a good point when you talked about the hustle. I will say, and you're not alone in that. You probably had to do that. Correct. For your family. For survival. For survival. Yes. There's probably many, but I will say that for today, you kind of have a split. You have some people still struggling in that same era, if you will, and maybe it's different, right? Because nowadays, your confrontations aren't with fists. you know, they're with guns and other violence. And that kind of thing. Yeah. But let me ask you a question on that subject. Okay, but before you go there, I want to finish making this point because then you have the group of
brown and black, their parents have worked so hard to get some type of accomplishment, and now they have what they would call the silver spoons in their mouth. So they don't have that same sense of let me get out there and hustle and work hard and, make some of my own money, or
So
they
you,
never had the struggle of I don't know what my next meal is gonna be
so you mean
because you
they don't recognize,
they don't recognize
right?
they
It's
haven't
it's foreign
experienced.
to them. It's
Yeah,
strange. It's alien.
yeah,
Yes, I get it. So they cannot relate.
right.
Like, what is this? What is this person talking about? Because what do you mean? Just my parents did it.
Hmm.
But what did your parents do? Because you don't know.
Right.
You
You don't
see,
know how
and the
hard they work.
generational part that goes backwards that they don't see because yeah, my parents put me through school. I went to Spelman. Great.
Hmm.
But how many parents, for every one that found a successful alternative, and that was driven by their parents' drive,
Right.
and you're the beneficiary, but out of every one, there's 9 more who did make
Who
it.
didn't?
And mind you, some of us don't make it to the point where we are, having struggled for 50 years.
Hmm.
They end up in the grave in their 20s. I have people I went to school with and I was growing up with, kids, teenagers, who are gone
Yeah.
in that whole struggle that is consuming and the painful lessons that life teaches, some of which cost us the ultimate price. Thankfully, I'm still here. So when I look at the stigmas and all that, and I was going to say, as a side note, how good does it feel to you
Hmm.
when you actually help somebody? You see somebody struggling, and the empathy and your heart floods in, and you know they need help,
Hmm.
and your mind races back to a time when you needed help, and when you help them, how good does that make you feel?
It makes me feel real good.
Okay.
Absolutely amazing. And I will say my help is always more for children
Okay.
because I reflect on my childhood, just like you said, and needing the help. Um, Often it came, and I think my childhood, as I've lived my life over the years, it's caused me. And it's one of my favorite words is optimism.
Okay.
Because I'm still here, and I can look back at all the things that happened in my life, and those things made me stronger. To be the grandmother of what? I'm going to say my grandchildren are in the teens because I lose count from time to time. But to have raised 4 children and, be here to see them growing and, making their own life strides. They didn't have it easy either, but they always would tell me, Mom, you make it look so easy. They would say, Oh, we want this. Can you just go write a check? I'm like, you have to understand there has to be money in the bank,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But I feel blessed, and I feel that when I'm giving, if when there's a chance for me to donate something, it is usually to an organization that is for kids.
You know, you say something powerful and profound when you say, you have a focus,
Hmm.
not limited to, but a focus on things that help children because you understand that children are forced into situations that they don't choose,
Yeah.
that are pre-decided, predetermined, etc. And they are, as I like to use nowadays, as I understand, they are the collateral damage
You
to the
usually would
choices
say
of
that.
adults,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And that collateral damage is always there. We see the adult,
Right.
but we don't see that in the wake of,
Right.
right? As a ship passes by, there's a wake. Those waves ripple out, and they ripple out. And if there's a small craft in the area, that craft is rotted out by those weight, by the waves from that large craft. So in this case, the children are further traumatized with these weights. So when you say that my focus is on kids, it's powerful. And I get that you can make the immediate connection
Hmm.
time after time after time because no matter what, these kids need. And it's real. It's real in a lot of inner cities,
Hmm.
in cities